Welcome to PhDemystified, the podcast for new and not so new doctoral students and yet to be doctoral students.
Yeah, we aim to shed a little bit of light on the path to your PhD. We're going to make your journey a little bit smoother. I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess, adjunct professor at Brock University.
And I am Dr. William Ankoma, assistant professor at St. Francis Xavier University. We are diverse folks with diverse perspectives. And today we are going to discuss building your community. You are going to find that working on a PhD is different from undergraduate and master's studies. Most of the time, you're on your own. You will have coursework to complete, and you may do individual and group work. And after that, you're working alone. You may feel isolated and lonely. So you need to think about building or joining a community of peers. You can call it a community of practice.
Right.
And we have divided today's episode 4, into 2 parts. And part 1 will cover the community you already have in place. And part 2 will cover the community you will need to build in your program or your faculty or institution to help you navigate your doctoral studies in a very smooth and beautiful way for you.
Yeah. What we want to talk about to begin with in the first part is just strengthening the community you already have. So research that's been done on the needs and challenges of doctoral students, who are usually mature students, by the way, points to the importance of having strong supports, specifically for students who already have life partners and families and may have careers, and they're trying to juggle their studies with all of these responsibilities. Now, I talked to a PhD student a while back who was partway through her program, and she was not enjoying it at all. She was not receiving the support of her spouse, who initially was fully supportive when she started the program. So there was lots of tension and stress in their relationship. She was clearly unhappy. So really, you need to ensure that your partner is fully on board with you on this journey. So, yeah, you need to have a frank discussion with your partner about lots of things, right, Dr. Will?
Right. You need to talk about financial stresses, financial issues, what things are going financially. As we said in episode 3, money. And doctoral studies cost a lot of money. And so you really need to be on the same page. And then also having flexibility in the house, right? You're studying, you definitely need to redesign, reevaluate who does what at what time. And these are things you need to talk about with your partner and children or whoever your support network is in the home. Things like grocery shopping, food preparation, childcare. And as I already said, it's definitely going to be unequal. And your partner has to be okay with that. You will need the time and space at home to dedicate to your work, your health, as well as time for your family. And honestly, your partner needs to understand the PhD process and its challenges. And at the same time, you need to take care of your relationship too.
That's important, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So please don't neglect your romantic life also, because it is so important to you and your partner's well-being. And what's the point in just ignoring an important aspect of your relationship, the romance you need to continue having as you juggle your doctoral studies and family life.
Yeah, and you're going to take the time to celebrate all the little achievements along the way. That's important. Yeah. So, what you need to do is have a healthy home community outside of school, that support circle that's going to listen to you and encourage you and maybe console you when you need that, when the road gets bumpy. And we know that it will.
Yes, it definitely will. But I also want to point out that, having these conversations at home with your partner and children, extended family, it's or wherever or whatever you call home is so, so important, because the home has the potential to affect everything you do. You need to have accountability to the family as well, to check in with everyone. You need to have everyone on the same page. And so, Dr. J, on my part, the times and conversations I had with my wife, partner, to be inclusive here, were the most important during my studies. My wife's understanding, patience, and love provided the most comfortable shoulder that created a conducive, really good environment to help me navigate the many challenges.
And there were some, yeah.
We had a check-in time once a week where my little ones, when I was doing my PhD, they were really little, 5, 7-year-old kids. My children, my wife and I, we shared our weekly accomplishments with these little ones. We did that. We all set weekly goals and shared our progress.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It was an amazing way of being accountable to each other.
Yeah.
Especially to my partner.
And you're teaching your kids how to set goals and take responsibility.
Exactly, and they do it now. How we decided at the age I found myself in, I was going to start a PhD program. And I just couldn't do it without her full support. And that's why, for me, it was important to check in, to say that, honey, this is where I am. These are my frustrations. This is what is going on, my successes. And we celebrated and we cried together, and it was really good. So, yeah, and I want to say that we actually still check in from time to time, and I recommend it to anyone in their studies that please, be a little bit accountable and respectful, because someone is really helping you to get to the top or the destination you want to get to. Yeah.
So my husband, same story. He listened to me on a daily basis as I was going through all the different challenges. And I actually still remember the conversation that we had where we were walking along a trail near our home. And I said, I want you to listen to me. I need you to hear something. I want to apply for this PhD program. I know this isn't the ideal time in my life to do this, that this is going to challenge our finances, but I really want to do this. And so we had a great chat about anticipating what the challenges were going to be and how we were going to ride it out together. So my situation is different from yours because my kids are grown. They were already out of the nest, but they cheered me on from afar, and I think they actually liked telling their friends their mom was back in school, she was getting a PhD, and they were kind of proud to be able to share that, and I'm happy that they were, and that we did that together. It feels like that my family, they were my cheerleaders, my greatest cheerleaders.
Yeah, that's very true, Dr. J. It is really crucial to strengthen the relationship we already have,
and rely on those relationships when we need to.
Yeah. Because of the benefits we stand to gain. So let's not take the relationships we already have for granted.
Right. And we want to touch as well on the community that you can build within your program, your institution. Now, this could be national or international supports as well, but specifically, we want to talk about building a community within your program during your doctoral studies.
Right. Aside from the home, there is the outside home, right? So that's our part two, your community within the program, the institution, or elsewhere. So I had my master's supervisor, and thank you to him so much, and another MA course instructor, and thank you to this gentleman also so much. They became my friends and colleagues with whom I could communicate my triumphs and tribulations. They listened, they advised me. I built a good relationship also with a staff member who had already completed my program. And in fact, this person's insights and suggestions and counseling were what I really needed to carry on, because she had that inside knowledge about the program and, what to do to be successful and the things to avoid and what to emphasize. And if you can get somebody like that, it's really, really beneficial.
Absolutely. And I had one great friend within the program, so a colleague from our first class together who absolutely understood the challenges and frustrations that we were both going through at the same time. So he always was a great source of advice, and he is still my bestie, Dr. William. I think it really should be your goal to come away from your program with one strong friendship, even just one. Hopefully you make lots of friends, but if you have one good friend, that's all you really need to get through all of the storms along the way. And I'm not going to say there are tons of storms, but there are challenges. This is not an easy job to get through a PhD. And my friend Judy, this is an outside friend. She was a colleague. We used to work together. So we called her my PhD whisperer. And she knew the kinds of things I was reading and learning about, and she loved just discussing these things, the new issues I was coming across, whatever I was thinking about. And I also had a running buddy. And so she would listen and we'd share things back and forth as we were running. And so you need to take care of yourself, your physical health and your mental health, and the support network that you create is going to serve this purpose as well.
Absolutely. And not to flatter you, Dr. J, but
go ahead.
You here. So Dr. J here, my friends, has been my best friend from the beginning of the program to date. And as mature students and living less than half an hour apart, we quickly forged a healthy and supportive friendship to motivate, encourage, support, and also share our frustrations and successes. I could pick up the phone and call Dr. J about what's going on with that program, that venture, and the successes I'm getting, and the frustrations, I will get free counseling, free suggestions and advice. It was so beautiful. Yeah. In fact, Dr. J, you remain both my knowledgeable friend and a family friend. And it is not a surprise that we completed the program in the same year, in fact, just a few months apart. And we did the program, less than 5 years.
That's right. And just one of the benefits of having the phrase you used was a knowledgeable friend. If I've written a paper that I want to submit for publications, I ask you to read my paper to find, any flaws, omissions, where writing could be improved. We do that for each other.
Absolutely.
And seasoned scholars, senior scholars, they have their knowledgeable friends that they turn to. And I'll bet a lot of them were friends from their programs as well. That
Right.
Friendship just stays and evolves over time. So what you'll notice is who your supportive, knowledgeable buddies are in your program and within your family, those folks who understand and are ready and willing to stand by you in this very beautiful but very winding journey. As we highlighted in episode 3, we really encourage you to find a formal committee at your institution to join. Now, there may be many within your program, your faculty, national or international committees that you can get involved with. On these committees, you're going to share your perspectives on initiatives and issues and programs, things that you're coming into contact with. And you're also going to find that you have an opportunity to get inside knowledge of how your faculty works or the institution operates. So this is an important benefit of being on a committee. You're going to build relationships with colleagues, some of whom may be your instructors or your supervisor or leaders within your institution. This is a really interesting, important thing for you to consider. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we lived it, all right? We've been there, we've done that, and we've seen the benefits, collaborating with committee members, collaborating with supervisors, collaborating with members on the committee. I had someone, I worked on a committee, and I also did teaching assistant work for several years, actually writing one of the strongest reference letters for my job search, right? And then my first supervisor, we sat on several committees together and did so many things, worked together, and, the benefit you cannot even count. It helps a lot. So it is not guaranteed, right? But some of these folks might be the ones who will write the strongest reference letters you will need during your job search.
Yeah, this is important. It's crucial. Yeah.
And some of them will collaborate with you on teaching and research projects outside of the committee's work. And some of these members may actually hire you to do research assistant work just because of your contributions on the committee, how you carry yourself, and it's fantastic. So many connections and benefits you can get from just being a committee member, and of course not a lazy one though. You need to
You need to work.
You need to do the work.
So
right?
how many committees were you on? Can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of things you did?
I hit the ground running from day one. I was very fortunate that my supervisor invited me to sit on a committee called DASC, Diversity Advocacy Standing Committee. I led a research project actually for the faculty, and I'm so proud that we got that done. That really gave me the exposure I needed. Yeah, I also was on the graduate students committee called EGSS, that's Education Graduate Student Society, where we promoted the well-being and welfare of our colleagues, colleagues or members being graduate students.
And this was very important during COVID, the work that you did and the events that were planned.
Yeah. I also sat on the PhD graduate program committee as a representative of the student body. And then I also worked on a committee with my supervisor called the Teaching Nelson Mandela Committee, where we wrote a curriculum for Canadian schools. I think the first part has been published, and the second part, hopefully my name will be there. So I'll get that exposure. I was also on the Canadian Alliance of Black Educators Committee as the executive secretary for, was a short time, but I really liked it. These committees, they really gave me the exposure I needed. And members of the committee, including my supervisor, they provided reference letters for my current position, and I maintain healthy relationships with them. I co-authored a book chapter with a committee member. One of my committees also hired me to lead a faculty-wide research, and for that, I will forever be grateful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So another possibility is to join or start a discussion group with like-minded individuals. So this is an alternative or in addition to committee work. So you could create a discussion group around a particular methodology that you're interested in or a theory that you're working with. So in my case, I joined a literacy, language, and early learning group. Within this group, there were 3 professors and a variety of graduate students from different backgrounds. Some were master's students, others were in the PhD program. And our connection was either literacy, language learning, or early learning. And we had the choice of working, coming to in-person meetings or attending online. And we talked about lots of different things. Those professors discussed how to get published, where to get published. We also planned to attend a conference together and put in conference proposals. When we were accepted, we rehearsed our presentations with each other, gave each other feedback. It was so valuable. And we socialized together, went on hikes and had potlucks to get us through the pandemic. And so, having access to 3 professors and their experiences, their advice, their opinions, plus the feedback of colleagues and the interesting conversations we had together, it was really invaluable. I really felt that was an enriching experience.
And I want to add that actually, once you start your doctoral studies, you are a colleague to the professors. Mm-hmm. It's just a little gap between you and them. And I remember during our first meet and greet when we met our dean, was some of our professors addressed us as students. Mm-hmm. The dean, when it got to the dean's turn, the dean said, "Welcome, colleagues." I was in my first year PhD. And colleagues, I was surprised. I'm not a colleague yet, but he explained it. He said that as you are admitted, your doctoral students, you soon be doctoral candidates, and then your doctors, full-blown. So you begin in the journey. He saw us as colleagues. And anytime I encountered the dean was very respectful because he saw me as a colleague, although I was a professor and I was just a student.
Mm-hmm. But you're not a blank slate. You bring to
Right.
the table all kinds of lived experience, a unique perspective, and you should be valued for that.
Right. So it's really great to have this community of support for you. Now, one community that was really, really important to both Dr. J and myself was the online writing group, an online writing group that we had, the Education Graduate Student Society. I was a co-chair together with my co-chair, Karen. We put this together and then we reached out to graduate students to join us during the COVID to write, to research, to do any work. It's just a platform that we created which brought students, together from far and near, right? Virtually, of course, but we took time to really check in with each other. It was like we're accountable to some extent. I mean, accountable to yourself, but we'll check in, we'll say, okay, today I'm going to just mark 10 assignments from my students. Someone will say, oh, today I'm trying to nail down the thesis statement of a paper I'm trying to write. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the 2 or 3 hour period, we check in. How did that go? Oh, I was able to do 7. Good job. We celebrate. Mm-hmm. I nailed my thesis statement. That is fantastic. And I actually even did extra. Right? So we check in and we're happy. And we got a chance to share laughs and jokes and advise each other spontaneously, actually. Mm-hmm. We played games like Kahoot. We had dance breaks. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah. For me, having to get up, grab my coffee, and be sitting prepared to start work at 9:30 in the morning. We had our group met 3 days during the week. There was also an evening session for people who really wanted to meet later in the day. But that group and that routine really got me through the long, hard days of dissertation writing. And I really highly recommend an online writing community to anyone who is in the program. Early days, there's lots to read and write. And through the dissertation writing, that online community will be your source of strength.
It's really beautiful. So, yeah.
And according to scholar Deborah Mullen, she names 6 reasons why an online community is beneficial. They can offer so much support in so many ways. For example, they can counteract the isolation and loneliness that you feel. You're alone in your office or sitting at your desk in front of your computer, but you're not alone. You just look up and you can see a group of people who are, slogging at their work as well.
Yeah, and as Dr. J says, you look up and you can see 2, 3, 4 other folks, working. And as we said earlier, you take time to check in. You are literally killing that loneliness you might have felt. And, Deborah Mullen says, build relationships and your sense of belonging when you have an online community. You build that relationship. And we felt it. Right? We had that relationship, and we still have that relationship with some of the folks we had these online groups going, and the sense of belonging, like someone to talk to, someone to accept you, someone to see that we're all, in it together. Yes,
Absolutely.
different agendas, but we're actually heading towards the same directions, and our experiences are quite similar.
You're setting your goals for the day. You're setting what you want to achieve by the end of the morning, and that group gets you there. You don't think when you first sit down that you feel like doing anything, but it's motivating to have a group of people working alongside you.
Yeah, and as Deborah Mullen's 4th point says, online communities provide a space for spontaneous advice. You don't have to really wait for even a day or a week or 2 weeks for your supervisor's advice or suggestions on things. Right away, you have somebody, before we start or as we are ending, somebody will say, I've been, worried about this. I've been thinking about this, and I want to do, for example, I want to apply to this conference, or I want to be considered for that. What do folks think? And here you are with 2, 3, 4, 5 folks, diverse perspectives chiming in. And giving you that spontaneous advice. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also, there are informal learning opportunities that come out of these conversations. So, you may hear one of your friends talking about a paper that they're reading, an author that you're not familiar with, and suddenly this is something that could be very important to you and could really illuminate what you're working with, the issues that you're dealing with. So there are great, your peers are great resources here in this group. Yeah.
Big time. So Mullen's final point, number 6, is in your online community, in your online groups, you can build in breaks. And that's our experience too. That's what we did, breaks to exercise. In fact, there were times that we played music for 5 minutes and we danced online.
End of the week. It was great.
Yes, we danced, we stretched. We really had fun because, again, it's not just academics. You have to have time to really promote your mental health and your well-being. Enjoy the process, my friends.
Yep. And belonging to a community is really a fundamental human need. So finding your people can really relieve the isolation and loneliness of doctoral work. Your community, whether it's the community at home, your family, or at the institution, the community you build or join, is going to help, as you were saying, Dr. Will, with your sense of well-being, your mental health. And it's also going to help you to maintain your love of learning. And really, that's why we're all here in the first place.
Yeah. So all too soon, my friends, that's it for us today. You've been listening to PhDemystified. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess.
And I'm Dr. William Ankoma.
We'd love to hear from you, so please email us at PhDemystified@gmail.com.
And we'll chat with you again in 2 weeks.
Bye for now.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to PhDemystified. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to stay updated on new releases. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out to us at PhDemystified@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch. This podcast is hosted and produced by Julianne Burgess, PhD, and William Ankoma, PhD, in collaboration with Brock University's Makerspace Studio. Co-produced and edited by Serena Atella. Music is High on Loungin' by Wax Lyricist. This podcast is financially supported by St. Francis Xavier University.